Tom Kennedy, a worldwide famous musician, has been playing the bass for over 20 years now. He has worked with many artists such as Steve Kahn, Big Connors, Benny Green. I met him during Mantova Jazz Festival last evening, where he performed his last CD songs at the Bibiena's Theatre together with Mike Stern. Today, he kindly guaranteed me this interview, especially for Opinion Post readers. While reading your biography, I saw that you started playing when you were 9 years old. What do you think about television programs dedicated to musical child prodigy? Do you stand up for them?
I think any kind of promotion of good talent, especially in young people, is something that everyone should stand up for. There's so much, there's so many things on TV that are, television that are violent, or they have to do with things that are, very harsh, and it's good to see, a show where people are promoting good things. I think it fits into any of the art categories. It's definitely a pop culture type thing, that they are looking for on these shows. But I think it's great for kids to get the opportunity to audition, to possibly go the distance, and I think it's always good when a talent is rewarded in some way or another. So I think these television shows definitely help, in a sense. What I would like to see is shows, more dedicated to, talented people of all kinds. In the music, for example, I'd love to see, these type of shows, for jazz music, for classical music, for any kind of music. I'd like to see these shows have a greater crossover, to include all types of music, for example. Just as the dance shows, they have many dance shows, on, and they have people audition with all types of dance steps, waltz, tango, pop dance, and I'd like to see a little bit more of that in the musical, variety show.
When you were young, you two decided to move to New York City in order to have more opportunities and to realize a dream that is now reality. Do you think that nowadays this is the same? Is there still the American dream? Getting to New York in order to realize your own dreams?
And there are many. There is such a huge influx of young, players coming to New York, especially jazz musicians, but also a lot of popular, pop musicians. It's just a wonderful arena, for all types of music. There are a lot of classical people that come through, obviously, to play at Lincoln Center or to play at Carnegie Hall. And with the jazz people, of course, there's, the Blue Note and the Village Vanguard, and a lot of great jazz venues, as well as Carnegie Hall and places like that, because, many of these great venues in this city do a variety of musical types. And then there are a lot of smaller places, around New York, and I mean, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens. Um, it's ever growing. So there are many clubs, and there are many popping up. There are many that can't make the rent and they're closing, but many that are coming, that are reopening, and so there's a constant, there's a constant, place for people to play, and so there are people from all over the country, young musicians, moving to New York. constantly, and I was one of them. And I moved, I moved in the mid '80s, in the middle '80s to New York after I'd finished
Okay.
school, and I came here immediately because that's where all of my favorite musicians, all of the icons of jazz that I knew growing up were living. So I wanted to be where these people are, where those people are, and so it was, and I've been very fortunate in the sense that I've been able to play with many of the people that I grew up listening to back in my hometown, from buying their records. Back in those days, we had records, and and just recorded music of these wonderful people. So that really drew me east. There was quite a great contingent of West Coast players also, but I was always drawn to the East Coast, I think, because I was more coming up as a bebop musician or a mainstream jazz musician more than a contemporary musician. So there was a lot more mainstream bebop type jazz happening in New York. So it just made sense for me to go there. And I'm glad that I made that choice because, as I said, I've been able to play with so many of those players. Also, because while I was living in the Midwest, before I moved to New York, I was playing with many of the East Coast musicians when they would come through town. Many of them would come through by themselves and they would be looking for musicians in each place. So the venue would usually hire a local rhythm section to play with them. And I got to the point where I was pretty much the first call bass player in those situations. So I was playing with many of these people that would come through. And so that was such a great experience for me. And it was kind of a good precursor to what I could look forward to when I got to New York. So it was a terrific experience for me. So there was really no question for me when I came to New York that was the place to be.
You recently participated to Mantova Jazz Festival performing with Mike Stern. What do you like about Mantua? Do you like Italy?
I love Italy. I've always loved Italy. I remember in 1985, I'd been to Europe before, but I was always in Scandinavia, Germany. I'd never been further south. And my first trip to Italy was actually Perugia, and that was with Steps Ahead, with Michael Brecker and Peter Erskine and Michael Manieri. It's a legendary jazz group. It has become a legendary group and unfortunately the passing of Mike Brecker, who we all miss dearly. But one of my first performances with that band, and my first big Europe experience was in Italy, as I said, at the Perugia Festival, and it was from that point I was hooked. I just love the country. I love the people. I love the spirit of the people. And they're very, I always think of, the Italian people as just being very outgoing, very, many people have such great charisma and they want to know you and they want to meet you and they want to hang out with you. And if especially a musician will come right up to you, hey, I play the bass too, or I'm a drummer, and I've heard your recordings, and just very friendly, very warm people. And I got that feeling very quickly. And not to say that other countries in Europe aren't that way, but I think especially in Italy, I've always kind of had a warmth in my heart for Italian people. I've just always gotten such a warm, friendly response from people, and such an interest in the music. And during the performance, they are so interactive with the musicians, and you feel the response from the audience, and that makes for a better show. That makes for a better communication for us playing to them, and them actually playing back to us. and responding to what we're doing, which, makes us respond to the way they're responding. So that's a really important thing for musicians. I think many times, the people that come to listen to music don't actually realize the effect they have on the musicians. And so that's one great memory that I have of Italy. And every time I come back to Italy is just the great response, that we get from the audience back to the stage, which inspires us to play that much better. And we were in Italy this last tour for about a week, and we were actually in Palermo in Sicily, and just it's always an extraordinary experience. And I love Italy, and I've been to many cities in Italy, and I've always had the same feeling. I've been down south, I've been north, and I just, I mean, what can you say about Rome? I mean, it's such a beautiful country, and the people are wonderful, and it's my honor to play in it.
You have performed with music living legend, and you yourself are one. Is it you who choose who to perform with?
Oh yeah, now I
Ah,
understand. um, yeah, in many situations, yes. I feel that I'm at a place
mm,
in my career where I want to perform
mm,
with certain people, and I am already performing with many of the people that I've wanted to perform with. There's still others that I haven't played with, but I feel that I'm playing at this stage in my career, that I'm playing with exactly the people that I want to work with. And what's nice is that when I'm hired to play as a band member, for example, Mike Stern,
okay.
um, he always uses great musicians. So all of the people that I've been playing with
Okay.
Mike Stern are guys that I really enjoy playing with. The guys that I would choose for my own band. So I've been very lucky that way, and I'm very blessed that way to play with, you know, all the guys that I truly want to play with. And then, there are other musicians as well, and many times I can hire, those musicians to play in my band. So I get to work with many of the great musicians that I have a great respect for, and the people that, I guess the best way to put it is that these are people that I would use in my band, you know. So I don't ever feel like I'm ever compromising anymore. When I was a young guy, I think you have to compromise, when you're coming up. But I think it's good because I think you learn a lot from people that are maybe not the perfect players for you to play with. But now there's not a single musician that I play with now that I wouldn't volunteer to play with. So yes, I'm playing with it. Everybody I'm playing with is someone that I really want to work with, that I really want to play with, and have a good rapport with musically.
Oh,
After the concert with Mike Stern, I came to see you and told you about my friend Bobby Kennedy, whom I met during the shooting of his film America. There are a lot of people whose family name is Kennedy in America. Do you all know?
I think there are a lot of people with that last name. In fact, I work with quite a bit with a drummer named Will Kennedy, who's